Unique Spiritual Experiment on Collective Consciousness, Audio 6. Significance of Collective Prayer. Arousal of righteous intellect in all and bright future for all is the focus of the unique experiment of collective prayer sadhanas initiated under the auspices of the Gayatri Parivar. The Gayatri Mantra indeed implies the same prayer and induces divine illumination of mind. In view of the definite impact of prayer, the Mahapurush Charan experiment of collective Gayatri Jap and meditation is expected to be effective towards global welfare and universal enlightenment in the years to come. Divine prayer through a pure heart is affirmed to have immense power that could even change the circumstances of the life. Its creative effects are beyond imagination. It is a call of the soul that reaches God and brings back thy blessings that bestow the desired results. It is believed to be an endeavor of mankind that is most certain to succeed. When the resources and potential of a man fail and he finds himself helpless, he remembers and realizes the infinite power of thee. At this moment, his heart calls the Omnipotent and conveys his message through the inner depths of emotion. This is a prayer that knocks at thy realms and invokes thou reply with equal warmth. It is said that God comes running in response to the sincere prayer of a devotee. The saints and the savants of spirituality define prayer as nourishment of the soul, which activates linkage of mind and heart with God. Tennyson elucidates the astonishing power of prayer as, prayer is the only power in the world that can annihilate hardest of the hardships and even mold the laws of nature. The power of sincere prayer can affect every horizon of life. Otherwise, incurable diseases could also be cured by this magical power. Some scientific labs in the West are engaged in research on these effects. Charles Fillmore is a memorable name amongst many live examples demonstrating the miracles of prayer. Fillmore, a resident of the town in the USA, was very weak in their childhood because of suffering the attacks of several diseases. Adding to this, a severe bone fracture during a skiing session had made him lame too. No treatment showed any improvement. However, the saintly heart of Fillmore did not lose hope. He took the support of prayer. He used to pray almost 6 to 7 hours every day, requesting the Almighty to give him courage, strength, and light. The agony of his ill health had naturally amplified the voice of his heart. The healing power of prayer was soon reflected in his improved health, and gradually his crippled leg also became normal and strong. The miracle inspired Charles Fillmore to propagate the importance of holy prayers in human life. He devoted his life for this noble cause. He was renowned as the prayer healer in America, founded the Unity School of Christianity, the enlightening publication of which are read by many across the globe and render great service to humanity. On many occasions, distinguished medical experts have also reported amazing cases of healing via prayers. Renowned Dr. Alexis Carrel has carried out intensive research in this regard. He has compiled and published the case studies and conclusions in a book entitled Men, the Unknown. Dr. Carrel is a cancer specialist and has often come across with critical cases and painful deaths of the patient of this killer disease. However, he has also witnessed some patients who, despite suffering advanced stage of cancers, no medicine, no mode of treatment could provide any help, were remarkably cured by the intensive healing effects of prayers. He summarizes his conclusion as, prayer is the most powerful source of energy that controls the mind-body system and orients its activities towards natural healing. From a psychological angle, prayer is said to inculcate inducing instructions that gradually invigorates the potentials of mind. The intensity and impact of these inner inscriptions of prayer rise in proportion with the piety and the depth of the devotee's intrinsic faith. These also have a reach in the hidden folds of mind and therefore effective in eradication of psychiatric complications, mental weaknesses, tensions, worries, and illusions, etc. Unity, conjugation, and superposition always multiply and magnify the compatible effects. The same is true of the greater and wider impact of collective prayer. The namaz of the Mohammedans, mass prayers of the Christians, retreat practices of the Armenians, etc., all signify the use of compounding power of prayer. Groups of peoples, societies, and nations a whole also take shelter of collective prayers at the time of emergency, natural calamities. The bells of temples, churches, mosques, gurudwaras, and all other shrines ring with the mass participation in prayers in the war times. This is the last asylum of hope for mankind in the critical moments of helplessness. Niagara in North America is known to be the world's most gigantic waterfall. The tribals of these areas believe that hindrance of the flow of this spring would be an indication of the total disaster and the end of the world. Incidentally, the fall was blocked due to the freezing of Hill Glacier on a winter day in early 20th century. This triggered a wave of terror among the locals. Soon the news spread across the country. All the church bells began to peal, with mass prayers by panicked people everywhere. Within few hours, the spring regained its flow and the waterfall came to normal in another couple of hours. According to meteorologists and environmentalists, the freezing of the spring is indeed rare, but more surprising was the exceptionally fast melting of the glacier. How could it melt within few hours, that too in the peak of winter, just after the mass prayers? Here again, the tremendous power of collective prayer through heart was recognized to have enforced the desired change. In the adverse circumstances prevailing in the world today, when man-made follies and ills have gone beyond control, collective prayers worldwide for thy light and protection are most sought for. The Vedic rishis had always preached the path of collective endeavors for the glory and growth of the world. Their spiritually illuminated acumen had experienced the supernormal force of collective prayer. The hymns and the mantras pertaining to prayers are therefore written for the entire human society, for the global welfare rather than for one or two individuals. As we discussed earlier, Gayatri is the root of all Vedas. The japas of the Gayatri mantra uniquely effectuates twofold blessings of prayer. Firstly, it attracts the divine light, energy, and inspirations from its Devta Savita. The sadhak's physical, mental, and spiritual bodies absorb and get strengthened and illuminated by these currents of Mahaprana through the vibrations of Sabda emanent from the mantra. The second effect is global. This mantra evokes the prayer for pure, righteous, enlightened intellect for all. This prayer is conveyed through the vibrations of japa and spreads the emotional currents of peace, happiness, vigor, goodwill, unity, and love, thus creating a divine ambience in the surroundings. These soothing waves continue to propagate in the wider space and purify the sublime environment of life. Collective jap sadhanas of Gayatri Mantra is performed simultaneously across the globe would magnify this effect exponentially. This would wane out the smog of ailments, agony, hatred, jealousy, egotism, cravings, etc. pervaded all around and protect the world like thy Savior, and also erect an atmosphere of global peace, piety, prudence, and prosperity. The role of yajna in resolving the problems of today. The process and philosophy of yajna is an integral part of the collective sadhana experiment of Mahapurush Charan. The combination of Gayatri sadhana and yajna is said to be perfect and beautifying. Their mutually supplementary role is like that of incense in gold, flower in sandalwood, fruits in sugarcane. The joint effects of the series of Gayatri yajnas being organized worldwide are expected to enshower extraordinary benefits on this earth. The integrated science and philosophy of yajna provides practical modes of ideal development of the materialistic as well as spiritual domains of life. The rishis had devised the process of yajna based on their deep research into the eternal relationship between man, society, and the nature. It is said to be the principal source of the divine civilizations of heavenly peace, joy, and progress that prospered in India in the Vedic age. The Vedic scriptures mentions a great deal in praise of yajna. Of ancient Indian history cite grand experiments of special yajnas to resolve the crisis of wider social impact or global consequences when other worldly efforts or solutions had failed. Specific yajnas were attributed as supreme remedies for the purification of the gross as well as subliminal environment. The Ashwamedha and Rajasuya yajna, performed respectively in the periods of Ramayana and Mahabharata, were indeed the unfailing experiments of this kind. Today, the atmosphere we breathe in is densely polluted by toxics, chemicals, and poisonous gases. Psychosphere influencing our thoughts and emotions is pervaded with insidious, illusionary, and declining effects of immorality, corruption, dishonesty, autism, anger, jealousy, insatiating passion, etc. Surrounded by ever-increasing self-obsession, restlessness, tension, terrors, and mistrust, we seem to be heading for a tragic disaster that would wipe out all traces of life and civilization forever. The nature, grandeur, and the severity of the problems and the untoward flow at their subliminal roots make the role of yajnas along with the collective sadhanas and prayers more relevant and crucial. In view of the miraculous effects of Gayatri meditation, the Gayatri yajnas appear to be the most suitable in the present circumstances. The philosophy of yajna revolves around the altruist service, refinement of every sphere of life, and expansion of goodwill and knowledge. Scientific procedure involves sacrifices made with chanting of the Gayatri and other Vedic mantras of special combination of dry herbs in the sacrificial fire of selected woods, ignited in specially designed pits called kundas. The fumigation, vaporization, and sublimation of the herbs in this process spread the fragrance, fumes, and vapors of healthy elements and negative ions that purify the air in a large surrounding volume and expand far beyond. These are densely clustered with the clouds and are showered with the next rainfall, thus purifying the water and soil too. The energy generated by yajna is compounded with the Sabda Shakti of the mantra and electrifies the subtle flow of prana in the atmosphere. The prana stimulates the vital force in the soil, water, plants, trees, and all living beings and induces liveliness and joy everywhere. The sublime flow of prana generated by yajna also strengthens the divine forces, subliminally regulates the visible and the invisible cycle of nature. The rising frequency of natural calamities since past few decades is identified by the seers as a consequence of the annoyance or the disorder of these controlling powers. Yajna is described to be the most adept and natural means of soothing, harmonizing these powers to regain the balance of the ecosystem, protection and support of nature. Yajna also serves as excellent therapy against physical and mental illness. Because of sublimation, the fumes and the vapors of selected medicinal herbs sacrificed in the yajna gives million times greater potency and effects than that of the same medicines taken in oral or intravenous form. These intensified effects of the natural healing substances are also spread in the larger region and benefit everyone who inhales the medicated air or absorbs it through the skin pores. Because of the combined effects of the power of mantras and the energy of the yajna, Yajnapathy also provides excellent treatment of mental weakness and psychiatric and psychosomatic disorders. The collective chanting of mantra in the chest voice of the sadhaks generates amplified Sabda Shakti, which coupled with the yajna energy and vibrations of the querying flame of the yajna works like Shabda Bhedi Bana on the minds of the participants and the viewers sitting around the yajna. It penetrates the inner folds of the mind and clears off the deeply rooted and thickly assimilated evils and untoward tendencies. The spiritual aura of the combined energy of the mantra and the yajna emits peace and saintly inspiration, which restrain and control the insidious excitements and passions of ego, anger, jealousy, hatred, fear, sensual lust, etc., and also eliminate the depressing influence of lethargy, anxiety, despair, etc. Force of attraction of this aura on the wider side induces benevolence, integrity, austerity, awareness, and faith in divine disciplines. Thus, performing yajna on regular basis would naturally help solve the problems born from the weakening or maligning of the mental and emotional realms. All complications, tensions, worries, fear are uprooted in no time by the astonishing, sublime, and gross effects of yajna. In order to generate the effects of eradication of evil tendencies and animal instincts at wider levels, the Gayatri Parivar has organized grand Ashwamedh Yajnas during 1993 to 1995 in different parts of India and abroad. Millions of people belonging to different creeds, caste, and social background, cults, and religion, they participated in these dharma anushtans. Everyone around was also attached by the systematic and disciplined organization of the altruistic experiments at a mammoth scale without any use of state, machinery, or police support. The cooperation, mutual respect, and harmony observed on these occasions was truly remarkable and made one wonder whether it is happening in the same era and at the same place where religious fundamentalism and caste and cult-based clashes, hatred, and politics often appear to dominate over human relations. These yajnas also help clear people's misconceptions about the sacrifices, gorgeous celebrations, and smoke production in yajnas. These experiments, designed on the scientific and spiritual principles, accelerated and expanded the effects of the Yug Sandhi Mahapurush Charana in purifying the subtle and the gross environment of life. These also propagate the importance of Gayatri Yajnas in scientific light with wider culture and social impact.